truth and love, and I find those things in God alone.
Hey, Sean, it's great to see you. You and your wife have 6 kids. Can you tell me, well, your wife's name is Chris, but tell me your kids' names and ages.
Yep, Chris and I have 6 kids together. We have 3 boys and 3 girls. So Cullen is our oldest. He is 18. McKenna and Aiden are our twins. They are 16. Shauna is 15. Braden's 13, and Kyla is 11. So yeah, it's a full house, a full day of school, and we love having the kids around us.
And I have to bring this up. They were all home for quite a while, virtual school, and you had to direct that. That must have been a busy household.
Yeah, it's always interesting whenever you have the 6 kids underneath one roof, and I find myself being the teacher as well as a parent with the 6 kids. So talking about genotype and phenotype on the biology level, the 11th grade, and then adding fractions on the 6th grade level. So it's quite a disparity from the older kids to the younger kids in terms of trying to get all that work done and making sure that they have their assignments done.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's always interesting.
Balancing that. Anyway, our parish got to know your family a little bit more during the pandemic when you submitted a video last May about what your family does, what they were doing during quarantine, and how you were all working together. And you were actually going out and doing some service projects. In fact, if anybody wants to go back to omostoday.com, our virtual resources, you can still see Sean's family video. It's actually really nice. So over the past year, you and your family have done a number of service projects. 1, how do you get your kids to help out? And number 2, what were some of those projects?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important to Chris and me for our kids to know that their life is not about them. It's about other people, and what can we do to lift people up. Some of the things that we've been doing is really fun because, again, it's taking that focus off of them and putting it on somebody else. And it's always important to Chris and me for our kids to know that their faith needs to go beyond the 4 walls of the church. And it needs to go out into the community and impact people's lives. And I think during this pandemic, Jesus is speaking to us a little bit differently. And I think the Holy Spirit guides us to listen a little bit differently. For instance, before the pandemic, I was involved with putting on a couple of the Alpha programs. And so I was getting up in front of a large crowd of people and telling them about the Alpha program and introducing different topics from week to week. And since the pandemic, all of that's changed. So we don't have any large group formations anymore. And although Alpha is being conducted virtually, the in-person Alpha has been suspended until this virus goes away. So that focus, that tells me that I have to listen a little bit differently to the way that Jesus is talking to me. A few months ago, I overheard a conversation right outside the church between 2 parishioners. And one of the older parishioners was saying that, it had taken her 2 days to cut her grass. And I was thinking, I could respond to that 1 or 2 different ways. I could pretend like I didn't hear the conversation and just carry on with my day. Or I could do something about it. And so I got this parishioner's telephone number and decided to give her a call to see if I can help cut her grass. And she was more than willing to have me come over and cut her grass for her. And so when I started cutting her grass, gas trimming all around her property, and then taking the blower and blowing off the sidewalk and the driveway. And after everything is said and done, it takes me about 50 minutes to cut her grass. Whenever I take my 2 older boys with me, I'm done in 30 minutes. And it takes her 2 days. And to me, that's what living a life, a Christian life, is all about. She didn't ask for help, but I could see that she needed help. And in the Bible it says that the prayers of a righteous person are powerful and effective. And with this parishioner who I cut her grass, I can always go to her for prayer. I can go to her and tell her that, my wife or my kids or myself is having a procedure, whether it's medical or dental, and I can always count on her for prayers for my family to help us get through those rough spots in life. So I don't like to ask Jesus, why is this happening? Why is this pandemic happening? How long is it going to last? I only have one question that I ask Jesus, and I think it's a simple question, and that question is, what can I do to help? And I would encourage anybody to, instead of asking those questions of, why is this happening and when is this going away, to ask that one simple question to Jesus, and that is, what can I do to help? And I found that whenever I ask that simple question, that he will lead me down those paths in life where I can help. And I'm expecting this to be one of the best Lents ever in my life. So
That's great to hear. In fact, because you hear his voice and with this awareness, your eyes are open, your ears are open, you decided to create a couple of projects that you're working on. And do you want to tell us about the one, particularly for the homebound right now?
Sure. Yeah, I was, Karen Wood does a wonderful job collecting up the prayer requests for the people in the community, for people in the parish. And it's just people who are hurting during this pandemic. Maybe they have a loved one or a family member that's hurting. And so she'll send those out to the prayer ministers so they can read over them, pray for them. And whenever I get her daily intentions, I will read over those prayer requests. I'll print them off, and I'll actually put them in my family's prayer bowl. So after a long day of school, a long day of work, and before we go to bed, my family comes together, and we pray that night. And at the end of the prayer, we'll put our hands over this prayer bowl and pray for people who need help. And we'll just ask Jesus to put his loving arms and healing hands upon these people because they're hurting. And that for me, whenever we gather together as a family and we have those 8 sets of hands over that prayer bowl, I know that he's there. I know that Jesus is there, and I know that he's going to help these people. One prayer that came across a couple of weeks ago was from a parishioner who was just having a difficult time. The feelings of being isolated, starting the feelings of depression and anxiety that is so typical during this pandemic and during the winter cold months. And it caught my attention before I put that in the prayer bowl. And she just said that she's been isolated for the past 11 months. She's starting to feel those signs of anxiety and depression coming upon her. And my question to Jesus was, what can I do to help? So I got together with Joyce Daly, who was gracious enough to put together a list of our homebound parishioners from our Mother of Sorrows in order to play virtual bingo with them. And so I contacted all of them on the phone, and then I followed up with an email asking them if they would like to participate playing virtual bingo. And it's nothing more than trying to get them engaged again, because I think it's difficult whenever we experience a pandemic like this and the fear surrounding this virus of people getting out and going to the grocery store and just leaving their home or their apartment. I feel that that's my job, to do something, to make them feel like they're not forgotten, to make them feel like they're part of the church community. And so if we can play bingo once a week, twice a week, whatever the case may be, just to get them engaged, let them know that that they're loved, that they're not forgotten. And hopefully whenever we play the virtual bingo, people will see, old friends and some new faces that they can meet and feel part of that family and feel engaged.
Because it's not just the game, it's the relationships that they'll build by being with each other, and that's an awesome thing that can happen. In fact, if anybody's listening to this and wants to be involved with the bingo game, contact our office here and we'll put you in touch with Sean. Also, Sean, we'll all get to hear you talk. You have a couple of talks that you do, and you're going to be at OMOS on March 12th with a specific talk, and it'll be in person, but also those of you who will not be able to be in person can see it virtually. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yes, this talk is going to be on Friday, March 12th at 6:30 over at the church. And it's going to be live streamed. So it's going to be the talk. The title of my talk is Christianity in Action, and it's putting our faith into action. I mean, it's one thing to read the Bible and go to church, but again, as we talked about during this interview, that people are struggling and people feel isolated, and I just can't. I can't fathom the thought of going home and just reading the Bible and studying the Bible without helping somebody that's hurting and somebody that's in need. And that's what this talk is about. It talks about taking our faith and actually putting into action. And I've been working with Father Mark and working with the Bishop Bishop Mark from the Altoona Johnstown Diocese, and trying to get out there with this talk of Christianity in Action. And my plan is to cover as many, do as many in-person talks throughout the churches in the Altoona Johnstown Diocese, to just get people engaged, to let them know that it's okay, even during a pandemic, to get out there and help someone, to take that attention maybe off of themselves and to put it on somebody else because of the hurt that this pandemic has caused. And if we can do that, I think we're a better church, a stronger community, a stronger diocese for doing that.
I think that's great, Sean. So glad that you can talk to us today about all of these things going on. And we look forward to the bingo, and we look forward to seeing you on March 12th. Thank you.
Yeah, and I look forward to being around here for many, many years. So thanks, Ann. I appreciate this time.
All I need is truth and love, and I find those things